You know what's really funny? So a year ago, or no, not a year ago, 2 years ago, we were talking all about Oliver Ekman-Larsson, this guy in the Arizona Coyotes system that was apparently being shopped, and he only really wanted to go to two teams. It was Vancouver and it was Boston. And I believe this was during the start of the 2020-2021 season. Or actually, no. It was quickly after the bubble playoffs in 2020, right? Because in August and September of that year, 2020, we didn't actually have a properly scheduled season. And during that time, we had all these rumors going about saying that the Coyotes were shopping Oliver Ekman-Larsson and that Vancouver and Boston and Edmonton were calling, and that Vancouver and Boston were the last two teams that were actually on Ekman-Larsson's trade list. And we had this entire discussion going on. Oh my gosh, are the Canucks trading for an expensive contract in OEL? Is this going to happen? And eventually it didn't. During the start of that 2020-2021 season, there was a deadline. And OEL, the teams, they all passed the deadline with no trade, and so he ended up staying put in Arizona for another season. A lot of Canucks fans, myself included, were kind of saying, okay, that's it, we're done. Like, no more OEL, this is not a thing anymore, because they were trying to trade for him, it didn't work, now the deadline has passed, and now we can just move on, right? Well, leave it up to Jim Benning to explore the same idea 8 months later, heading into the 2021 NHL Entry Draft and eventually pulling the trigger on one of the worst trades the Vancouver Canucks have done in a very long time. Not in terms of talent. No, I'm not going to go out there and say that OEL and Garland are bad players comparative to Beagle and Roussel and Eriksson. Sure, the team got so much better with this move. It's just the cap implications, man. The team really screwed themselves over by acquiring the contract of Oliver Ekman-Larsson, even though his play on the ice was not terrible. And now we have a new management staff. Jim Rutherford, Patrick Allvin, they're in here. Castonguay's dealing with the contracts. Granato's dealing with the scouting. And they're talking about changing everything up. They're talking about the financials. They're talking about how this team needs to free up some money. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is one player amongst many on the Vancouver Canucks who are not worth the contract and who could be potential trade fodder heading into the draft. And so we have ourselves Frank Seravalli, who made himself an appearance on Canucks Central, talking about how there might actually be some teams willing to bail Vancouver out in this dire cap situation that they have. Take a look at this tweet from Taj. Seravalli says this on the show. I know the Coyotes have called, offering the ability to take on some contracts that the Canucks aren't wild about. How much are the Canucks willing to pay to offload things like that? My answer, or thought process, would probably not be very willing. Now, we'll talk about the second part after, but I wanted to go over the first thing here. The Arizona Coyotes are... Man, how do I say this? They are such trolls. They are like the mob boss that is lending out a huge sum of money to some poor single parent needing to raise a child in order for them to buy a house, only for this mob boss to come back knocking on their door and saying, hey, we need that money back ASAP or else we're going to torture you guys. And it's a situation where the mob boss knows that this was going to come back to bite them in the behind when they took the loan out initially. But they let it happen because, hey, they're a fan of chaos. The Arizona Coyotes, I kind of feel vibes like that coming out of this organization because they traded OEL to Vancouver in the first place. They traded Connor Garland to Vancouver in the first place, and Connor Garland is a good player. I love this guy. Everybody in Vancouver knows the impact that he has, but with all the trade rumors surrounding how he apparently himself didn't have the best time he could have had in Vancouver in his first season, and now we take a look at Arizona and they're like, yeah, we took on a year of your bad contracts. We took on Eriksson, we took on Beagle, we took on Roussel, we took them on for one season because they were expiring, and we got a first. Sure, it sucks losing out on Garland. I definitely don't want to make it seem like he is not a good player, because he is. It's just the context of the trade was so poor from the Vancouver Canucks money management side of things that now you have this situation where the Arizona Coyotes are knocking on Vancouver's door and saying, hey, you guys got contracts, right? You've got contracts you don't like? Send them to us. We'll give those contracts a home. That's the exact same thing they did with Beagle, Roussel, and Eriksson. The exact same thing, except I don't think Rutherford and Allvin are going to go out there and make the same mistake and place so much value onto the short term like Benning did, because OEL's contract, man, it's such a bad contract. It goes on for so long. And Benning made that risk, man, because he was like, yeah, we got to go all in for the playoffs. We got to make the playoffs. Anything can happen. And I get it, you could say they were a 100-point pace team under Bruce Boudreau, but come on, look at what Colorado and Tampa are doing in the finals right now. Look at what Edmonton did to Calgary and everything in the second round. Florida absolutely crapped the bed. Vancouver would not have had a dying chance in the postseason this year had they made it. The team is just not consistent enough. Demko can't be Superman forever, especially when he was getting overworked to the capacity that he was. And now Arizona's coming out there and saying, hey, you guys gotta free up some money. How about you take it on with us? Maybe Jason Dickinson? Maybe Tanner Pearson? Maybe Oliver Ekman-Larsson? Maybe Tyler Myers? Who really knows? And I really do find intrigue in the way that Seravalli said the next part. How much are the Canucks willing to pay to offload assets like that? How much are they willing to pay to free up money? My answer or thought process would probably not be very willing. The Canucks last time freed up their money and their salary cap situation in the short term by sending away the first-round pick they had in the 2021 draft. That pick became Dylan Guenther, who is a very good WHL player and who probably has a top 6 potentially elite ceiling. That's a prospect that the Vancouver Canucks could have used in their system because look at all the prospects they have in their system. The best one is Jack Rathbone, and then you have maybe, I don't know, Danila Klimovich, and then you have Linus Karlsson in there. Who else? Jet Wu, Michael DiPietro, Ada McDonough. These prospects, I'm sorry, they have ceilings and they have NHL potential. It's just this prospect pool is so bad ever since Höglander, Podkolzin, Petey, Besser, Quinn, and all of them graduated to the team. And it's not necessarily a testament to, oh, Benning is so good at drafting because the guys he drafted make the NHL. It's the fact that all the Canucks' later round picks ever since like 2017 have not really been doing all too much. Let's go back to 2014, the first Benning draft, and take a look at all the players that have NHL potential. Okay, Virtanen, screw that guy. Jared McCann, we all know what happened to him. He got traded for Eric Branson. Okay, fine. Thatcher Demko, good pick. Nikita Tryamkin, not a great pick, unfortunately. Gustav Forsling was a fantastic pick in the 5th round. Benning just traded that guy away for Adam Clendenning in a weird move that I still don't understand to this day. Kyle Pettit, Mackenzie Stewart, nobodies. Go over to 2015. Brock Besser, okay, great first-round pick. Guillaume Brisebois, I mean, he's here and there, but he's not really the best. Zhukanov, Carl Neal, didn't really amount to anything. Lucas Yashik, Tate Olson, no. Adam Gaudette, I mean, he's not here anymore, but he still was a borderline NHL player, so I guess that's an okay one. Then you go over to 2016, Olli Olevi, bust. William Lockwood, not here yet. Cole Candela, Stukel, Abols, McKenzie, none. 2017, you have Pedersen, fine. You have Cole, Lynn, Gadjevich, these guys are both gone. DiPietro still marinating. Jack Rathbone is good, but everybody else isn't. Gunnarsson, Palmu, Brassard. 2018, you have Quinn Hughes, and that's about it. Tyler Madden's not here anymore. Jet Wu hasn't broken out yet. And you go over into the next few years, I mean, the Vancouver Canucks just don't have any good prospects anymore. All the good ones they had were first-round talents, and they all made the league already. You need to be able to draft outside of the first round. I don't even know what the point is I'm trying to make in this conversation. What am I even talking about? Oh, right, that's what we were talking about. How Dylan Guenther, a prospect taken in the first round, could have been a very needed addition to this Vancouver Canucks prospect system because Benning's reputation as a draft guru, honestly, I think should be challenged a little bit. Now you have situations like this where the team is so dire for prospects and future that they can't even afford to say, okay, Arizona, here, we'll give you Tyler Myers, but we'll also give you a second-round pick. That way, you'll take on the contract, we'll be free of that contract, and you get an extra pick because of it. Here you go. They can't even afford to do that. They have so few quality prospects that they can't afford to go out there and say, here's a future for a contract that you have to take on in the now. And I appreciate that Frank Seravalli went out there and actually said that the Vancouver Canucks might not actually be in a position to be willing to shed away some assets or actual valuable things like draft picks and other prospects in order to get rid of that salary. And so the big question comes, where do you actually trade these assets away? You have to find these GMs around the NHL that are willing to take on this money in a way that they see beneficial to them. It's going to be tough to find a team that actually thinks that they would be improving by adding on to Tyler Myers and trading away whatever it is they'd be trading away that would allow Vancouver to free up some cap space, but I guess that's where experience and knowledge comes in. So talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about the Vancouver Canucks and the Arizona Coyotes potentially emerging as trade partners once again. I doubt it happens, but we'll see. Arizona, you guys are absolute trolls for putting the Vancouver Canucks in this position. It's almost like, when you actually have a team that can acquire players and acquire picks at the same time, and you actually ice a good product. I mean, Shane Gostisbehere revived his career in Arizona, so good for him. It's almost like that's a strategy that works, eh? Kind of funny how that works. Talk to me in the comments, all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this British Irish Troll 9, and bye.